Welcome back, guys. Behavior Strategies for Class here. This is where we empower educators with behavior strategies that work so that you can teach. And believe it or not, this is episode 200. Whoop, whoop. Super excited, and I'm so glad that you are here. And I want to encourage you, if you leave a review in Apple Podcasts within the next 3 days, I will send you a free Starbucks card. I love your encouragement and your continued support. So thank you for that. Now, today we're going to talk about some classroom management lessons that I have learned from a tough year last year. And hopefully these lessons will inspire you to reflect as well on what lessons you have learned and what you can change or improve for this year. So let's get started. Welcome to Behavior Strategies for Class. I am Diane Bachman, your behavior paraprofessional with over 15 years of experience working in special education. And I'm so glad you're here because I'll be teaching you about social emotional learning, behavior strategies, trauma-informed care, and more. So if you are tired of being frustrated and not knowing what to do with your students who have challenging and disruptive behavior, you're in the right place. Now, if you're ready to become more equipped to help your students learn and grow, let's listen in to today's episode. Before we get started though, I want to encourage you to download your free Behavior Challenge Tips cheat sheet today. The code is in the show notes, and these will be tips, your cheat sheet that you can have at your desk, in your planner, or even post it behind your desk so that you have on hand exactly how to handle some of your challenging behaviors. So get that Behavior Challenge Tips cheat sheet today. So I'm going to go over 4 lessons that I have learned from a tough behavior year last year. So many different behaviors, and not just with our students in the behavior program that I'm in, but a lot of the Gen Ed students who are struggling with their emotional regulation, with dealing with disappointment, from as far as like, I'm not first in line to, Johnny looked at me crazy and now he's making me mad, or Susie wouldn't let me play with him and, they just don't know how to deal with it. So those coping skills as well. No coping skills, and emotional regulation. No strategies that they have at their fingertips. I must say though, some of the teachers, yes, they've done their best in creating a space where they can go and play with some fidgets, get some calming tools right there, take some breathing steps, all of these different things. Those have been helpful. I would say one of the things that I have also seen with those calming corners or areas or quiet space is that a lot of the teachers, they don't regulate those really well. Now that's up to you also. When we've used it, we usually would set a timer, and it could be like 1 to 5 minutes that we have. And we usually use like those sand timers. You can also use the little timer that's an alarm goes off. Different kinds of things. I think most of the teachers don't use those because, of course, those are loud and disruptive. But giving them a time and a space, because obviously, you have students who will take advantage of this time to go and, quote unquote, be in the calm corner for, 15 minutes. It's a bit much, and obviously not doing what it's supposed to do, right? We want students to go back there, get their calm on as much as possible, and then return back to work. But I've also seen a lot of teachers use it well. And students are taught, from like the beginning of school, like this is what this is used for, this is your allotted time, and then you are expected to get back to work. Those are some great ways that I have seen the Calm Corner work, and it is super successful. I would definitely encourage you to have one in your room, and then you decide those parameters for you and what works well for your class. And I'm sure you may end up tweaking those throughout the year, depending on how your students use that area. But one of my first lesson would be helping means fighting sometimes for those students who don't have a voice. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're nonverbal. I'm saying, we are not always listening to the student. We are not always hearing what they're telling us. And when we need to help them, and fighting is like consistently standing up for them. Like we had one student who struggled a lot, and we would constantly let the teachers know, like, this is too much. The student cannot be in this class at this time. Just give us the work and we'll work on it in our room. Other times they're like, nope, she has to be in class. Or other students, nope, they need to be in class. They have to get this done. Nothing. And to say like fighting, that doesn't necessarily mean like it's a huge, big fight. I believe it's just constantly being that voice for that student when they can't say, you know what, this really is too much. It's a sensory overload. It's bringing back bad memories. Whatever the situation is, they can't always express that. But if you work with your students long enough, like you see the body language or where they are literally running out of the room all the time. We had another student like that. He struggled so much just being in the gen ed classroom that we finally just connected with the teacher and said, you know what, can you just give us the work that he needs to get done and we will work on it with him. Even though sometimes we were in class with him, working one-on-one, it was still too much. But we had to be that voice for him to say, you know what, he can't be in here right now, or she can't be in here right now. What can she do while we're, in the other classroom? So standing up and fighting for our students, and that's like getting the resources that they need, making sure they're in the right intervention groups, make sure, they maybe need, I don't know, I can't think of anything right now, but something, as you get to know your students, you know them as a whole child, and how individually can you help them succeed in the classroom. Like that reminds me of some other like seating arrangements. Like we have those wiggle seats, which is like an extra cushion on chairs that some students need. They just need to feel that movement while they're sitting in class. And it's by individual. What are the individual needs that student needs to succeed? And being able to speak up and get what they need. I think that's the problem that I saw in some areas where nobody was speaking up for that kid. Or at times we would speak up and nobody was really listening because that student wasn't necessarily our behavior student. So again, listen and help your students get what they need. The number 2 important lesson that I learned is really about discipline. And this is more me in that remembering, our feelings, yes, we want our students to be able to identify how they feel. Becoming more self-aware helps them to process through all these different emotions that they feel. But we don't want them to stay there, right? Because if we stay in our feelings, we're going to be a hot mess like 24/7, right? Because our feelings fluctuate all the time. 1 minute we're happy, we're having a great time. The next minute we could be crying and sobbing in the corner. And then, well, I don't feel like that. Well, then I get that. But so for me, that's teaching the discipline like of grit and pushing through. and helping our students. And we saw that a lot with our students, like, well, I don't feel like being in class. Well, it's boring. Or I just don't feel like doing work today. I don't feel, this way. Or I do feel this way. Which again is great. Like, I'm glad you identified how you're feeling. However, we still have to push through and we still have work to get done. Like, you still have learning to do. Again, it's that constant reminder, like, this is why you're in school, right? To be learning, to be growing. And so it's a discipline. And, I know as adults, like, there are times we don't feel like being there either. Like, we don't feel like showing up today. We feel like staying in bed or going to the movies or just going to lunch with a friend. You know, Again, it's great to feel those, but we can't stay there, right? We have to be disciplined and disciplined to do the work, to push through those feelings at times. And so that has been an important lesson because so many students were just like, well, I don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. Okay, let's keep going. The third lesson that I learned is we definitely need each other. We need support. We need that community. We need to be working together. And I so appreciate all of the teachers that are super supportive of so many paraprofessionals that come in and are there to support you. They acknowledge you when you come in. The students acknowledge you. The students ask for help nicely. It's just such a nice, warm, welcoming place to be when you are acknowledged for being in there. And when the teachers also point out, again, this is another adult in the room. If she gives you direction, your job is to follow through as well. And so that is super appreciative. And I want to encourage you, if you don't do that, to encourage those paraprofessionals that come in to support you and to support other students, and just acknowledging or even just saying a thank you. Like, it doesn't have to be a big, huge deal. Just a simple thank you, or good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. The acknowledgement goes a long way. And, and to remember, like, we are there to support you. And so we always ask, like, so what can we do? Or how can we help, this student? So say our student is doing well and they're on task. We usually will ask, are there other students you want us to work with? Who else can we help support at this time? So we always want to be available and remember, like, it takes all of us, right? It takes a village. It's everybody, right? It's not only admin, it's not only the teachers, it's the paraprofessionals. It's your speech therapist. It's your occupational therapist. It's sometimes you have a physical therapist in the building. It's all the specials teachers. It's the recess monitors. It's the cafeteria. It's the librarian. It's everybody working together to help the students be successful. So, I could be walking down the hall and I see, Joe over here acting crazy and, when he should be in class. And a simple, like, where are you supposed to be, dude? Oh. And then he runs back in class. It's like, those are simple things. But again, it's just the reminder, like, we need each other. We need to support each other. And we need to remember, like, we are all in this together. And especially this reminds me, like, our team, our behavior team, when we are overwhelmed working with one student, we can tap out with our other team member and be like, I need a break. Can you switch with me? Whatever it is. And be able to do that without passing judgment. And I can say, thankfully, like our team has been great in that. And it's okay. Again, there's no shame in being like, you know what, this kid is really on my last nerve and I'm not helping him right now. Like, it's better I just walk away and you come in. And that's why we rotate in our schedules. Like, we rotate with different students because some of them can really wear on you, as you know. And so, again, we definitely need each other. And especially when we're in a tough year and we had so many different behaviors. And there was even an incident when I was walking down the hall with one of our students. Another student ran out of her room and came and like shoved me to the ground because she was mad at me about something else. And I mean, thankfully, there, of course, were other adults there to handle her, and thankfully, I was okay. But, like, these are crazy times, and sometimes these students, like, you don't know what in the world is going to happen next. But to know that you have a team, you have support around you, you're going to be okay. So I would encourage you to reach out to, whether your class level team, obviously your school team, your even connecting with the paraprofessionals that come into your class, encouraging them, like, it's going to be a great year, we're going to work together, we got to do this, it's going to be great. But to remember, like, we all need each other. We are in this together, and your students succeed even more when all of us are pretty much on the same page. So the fourth lesson that I learned is to remember that growth is intentional, right? We want to continue to put that into our students, right? You want your students to learn. We want them to be lifelong learners. You're planting that seed, or maybe you're watering that seed, and so that they become lifelong learners, right? So that they continue to desire to grow. And I think that kind of goes along with the grit, right? Because even when it's hard and it's a challenge and you're challenging your students to grow, to learn, right? A lot of this stuff, it's all new. It's all new to them. So it's going to be hard. But to remember, like, you're growing, but you have to put the work in to make it happen, right? So I've seen some teachers, well, they'll talk to their students like near the beginning of the year and say, okay, what's your reading goal for this year? Or maybe just this semester? Or what's your math goal for this semester? And that's a great way to hold that accountability with your students as well, by giving them that voice. Like, okay, I want to be up to, I want to go from my yellow to the green level, and know that I am on grade level reading, or maybe shoot for above, right? It's reminding them that their growth has to be intentional, right? They have to have action. They have to take action in order to grow. And for me, that was continuing to learn about trauma, about strategies that are evidence-based, that have been working for years, that maybe some don't work, and look at the research. And so I dive into that area, learning more about behaviors. What does behaviors really mean? How is that, experience that this student have? How has that affected their behavior now? And how can we help them? For me, that's where I'm always learning, right? I want to dig in and find the best way to interact with our students and all of the students, and helping them succeed overall, right? Being that whole child, the whole part of them, like that emotional regulation, right? Those coping skills, teaching them behavior strategies, all of these things, and helping them succeed. Like, this is a constant learning, and I think it's going to be even more so because, unfortunately, we are not seeing behaviors improve. I believe a lot more Gen Ed students are struggling with their behaviors than just our students who are in our behavior program. And so that's why I appreciate being in the classroom and being able to speak into some of these other kiddos that I see who are struggling. You know, growth has to be intentional. And I know, like, I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are teachers. Like, you are lifelong learners, you are educators, you're constantly learning just as much, right? On different curriculum and maybe the format of your room and maybe your scheduling and how you teach, you know, engage your students in the different lessons and all of these different things. And so I hope that these lessons have encouraged you, because we have to remember, number one, helping a student means sometimes we're going to have to fight for that student. Fight for the right placement, fight for the right intervention, fight for the right tools that's going to help that student in class. Number two, to remember we need to be disciplined and model that for your students, because our feelings are not stable. We can't just stay in one feelings spot, right? We have to learn to have grit, to be disciplined, to push through. Even though we don't feel like doing it, we still have to get it done. Number three is to remember we need each other, right? We are a community. We're a team. We are in this together for the betterment of our kids, our students, our schools, our communities. We need each other. Appreciate each other. And then number four, to remember that growth is intentional. And growth happens through the hard times, right? Through the times that we don't want to be there, through the times that we are getting beat up by a second grader, through the times a second grader is pushing me to the floor, to the times that a first grader is pulling my hair and I'm getting spit on and kicked. And like all of these times, I have to remember it really is a growing experience. Of course, I'm not going to remember that in the moment, right? Because in the moment, I'm in survival mode just as much as that student is. But that we grow through those tough times, right? We grow through those situations, and you know, we always kind of reassess, okay, what could we have done differently? How could we have, you know, interacted in maybe a better way or a different way? So constantly reflecting on what could we have done, or what could we do differently, or how could we improve in this area? And so that is my questions for you guys, right? What lessons have you learned from last year? And what will you improve on for this year coming up? How will you be able to reach out to your students and help them succeed in the best way that they can? So this is my reflection time. This is a reminder. Discipline. Guys, this is number 200 episode, and I'm super excited and so happy to be here with you. And I want to encourage you again, if you leave a review in Apple Podcasts within the next 3 days, I will send you a free Starbucks card. Also, check the show notes and get your free behavior challenge tips cheat sheet today so that you have that on hand, a quick look at, okay, how should I react? Maybe you just forget in the moment. Sometimes you just need the reminder, and you will have that with you. One other thing, August 6th begins Becoming a Behavior Pro, Mastering Challenging Student Behavior course. This is the ultimate online course for educators seeking classroom control, trauma-informed strategies, and student behavior solutions. Guys, this is evidence-based training for you. understanding the root causes of disruptive behavior, applying proactive classroom management techniques, build your toolbox of behavior intervention strategies. So whether you're dealing with student defiance, meltdowns, or inattention, this course provides clear, compassionate solutions, and this is for you. So be on the lookout August 6th and be the first to sign up and get the Becoming a Behavior Pro, Mastering Challenging Student Behavior online course. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Thanks so much. One more thing, man, I almost forgot our quote. This is from Brad Henry. He was the Oklahoma governor, and he says, "A good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning." And that is who I inspire to be. That teacher who inspires hope, ignites the imagination, and instills a love of learning. This is my goal. And so, thanks so much. You guys are doing great. Continue to learn and reflect and encourage one another, because we need you and your students need you. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate your support. And if I have encouraged you, motivated you to continue to learn, to support your students, even better, to help them strive in your classroom, please leave a review, hit that subscribe button so that others can see they can learn and grow here as well. Thank you.